So tensions are escalating in Mpumalanga. This is following a devastating attack on public transportation. 51 PUTCO buses were set ablaze in a coordinated assault near Moloto, leaving commuters stranded and raising serious concerns about safety and security in the region. While 2 suspects have been apprehended, police are urgently searching for 13 more individuals believed to be involved. For more on this, let's now bring in the Mpumalanga MEC for Community Safety, Security and Liaison, Macie, as well as PUTCO's Managing Director, Franco Pisapia, who is going to give us an update on the situation that is unfolding currently. And we understand that there has been some measures that have been taken. Franco, let's start off with you. A very good morning to you. Thank you so much for making time for us. Tell us about your operations this morning, whether everything has been fully restored, considering that there was an announcement that was made that 50 more standby buses would be made available.
Yes, good morning to you and your listeners. From Tuesday afternoon, we started to deploy 50 buses from our bus pool into the operations into Mpumalanga. So we are hoping that the total operation will be in full force again by this afternoon. But already about 25 buses of the 50 are running this morning.
Okay, so later on this afternoon, we should see a full restoration of the services. But then speak to us about the safety of the commuters. What measures is PUTCO taking in that regard?
Well, in terms of the safety of the commuters, definitely we have put much more security, which we've had in the area for quite some time already. And we are putting extra security since Monday. Since Monday at 12 o'clock in the evening, in actual fact, since the incident started at 8:30 on Monday evening. But I think the issue is that we need to work closely with the South African police, and we've been doing that, and they've been assisting us greatly. So, because we can only help to a certain extent in terms of around our depots, but on the actual route itself, it's very difficult to contain if, for example, there is intimidation from taxis, which again happened yesterday afternoon, to try and stop the buses running and taking passengers from the buses and putting them into taxis.
Okay, so the intimidation that you're speaking about coming directly from the taxis, are you able to share with us which taxi associations these are?
At this point in time, we're still investigating which particular associations, but they are mainly the associations that work in that area. I think it's difficult to mention too much at this moment because it's all in investigation as well as police investigation, which they have greatly assisted. I must be very honest in that regard. We've had meetings with them with reference to this whole incident and how we're going to try and alleviate these problems going forward, and also to bring the perpetrators to book, because we cannot allow anarchy in the transport industry.
Yeah. MEC, thank you so much for joining us this morning as well. There is this issue that is raised about the limitation, I guess, that from the private sector side when it comes to safety and security. The Minister for Transport, Barbara Creasy, has called for an urgent net joints meeting to deal with this situation. Do you know how far you are with regards to setting up that particular meeting? But what's your observation about what's currently happening in the province and the accusation now that has been made by the Managing Director of PUTCO, Franco, that this is, on intimidation that is coming from the taxi industry?
Good morning. Thank you very much, Sampear. I think you firstly let me deal with the accusation, the intimidation, so to say. We are not yet aware of that, but we are part of the investigation as SAPS. Indeed, we had a meeting yesterday where we have serious discussions, and we know that there are things that are coming out there and there. So we are trying to consolidate the information. But what we are focusing on as a department is to arrest all the perpetrators. Henceforth, as we have already indicated that 2 suspects are already in behind bars. We are happy that we have a breakthrough on that regard. In terms of the security in the province, I think we can safely say in the past 6 months, if we were to be honest, our battalion in blue, that is men and women in blue, are respond in terms of their response. They prove to be efficient and very helping to the situation. There are incidents because we are not saying we'll come here and claim to say we are going to eradicate or stop deal with completely crime, because here we are dealing with human beings. When you put measures to combat crime, they will put countermeasures. We might ought to also to put countermeasures against their countermeasures. So it's a problem. Ours is to manage that the crime must not skyrocket to a level where we will not able to control, because we are dealing with human beings here. However, we can safely say and proudly say we are safe in the province. Yes, they will commit crime. Once they committed crime, what is important are the perpetrators that are commit crime are brought to book. Yes, we are arresting. We are able to mount sufficient evidence before the court and send them away for a very long time in prison. So we have very serious cases that we have managed to deal with that on that regard. Therefore, on the other matter that we have raised, the meeting that the minister is proposing, we are waiting for the minister in terms of the communication. Of course, we shall attend those meetings, because it is important that collectively we must come together and fight crime.
Yeah, but how do you know who it is that you are dealing with here, MEC? If the allegation and accusation is intimidation from the taxi industry, I'm sure that this is something that would have been raised before in the previous meetings that have taken place. And can MEC also confirm whether the 2 people that have been arrested are linked to the taxi industry?
So far, we are yet to link them with any taxi association in the country or in the province. But it's safe to say what we are interested in as a department is to arrest all of them. Upon arresting all of them, we'll able to come back to you to say this one, in terms of his social or her social standing in society, is linked to this one, is not linked to this one. For now, we can't speculate, but we have what I can share with you, Sandra, is that I'm happy that they are cooperating. Those who have already arrested, they are cooperating with us. They are giving us more information. There are a few things that police now are busy in terms of polishing whatever we are busy with regard to the investigation. Okay. Therefore, we'll able to say we are on course.
Okay, so let me put it this way, MEC, before I go back to Franco. As the Mpumalanga government, do you know about tensions between PUTCO as well as the taxi industry?
Yeah, in a meeting, they do come raise those issues, but we don't have evidence as yet.
Who are raising those issues?
As we have heard, Mr. Franco from PUTCO, those things, they will forever come. It's general information that there will be some threat, because they are contesting the space. It's not normally that one threaten another person. We don't want that. But when you are contesting space, some will come with counter accusation and counter accusation up until such time we have sufficient evidence. So I don't want us, Sandra, that with this information that has been put forward, distract us in terms of what we are facing with now. We are facing with criminal elements that we ought to deal with them now decisively.
Okay, Franco, do you have any level of confidence, considering the response there from the MEC, that government will be able to deal with this situation, also considering, once again, that the Minister of Transport is calling this economic sabotage?
I think the situation is as follows, that from the cooperation that we are having so far from the police, from SAPS, etc., and other crime intelligence units and crime agencies in the area, they are doing their utmost. But the problem in many areas is that they are not resourced enough, and their intelligence is not strong enough in terms of trying to deal with such a widespread area, because the area is a very big area. I also want to maybe just comment on this issue of contesting for routes. You know, it must be understood by the general public and everybody that the routes that PUTCO operates are routes that are contracted by the Gauteng Department of Transport. We operate according to proper schedules and route schedules. So we don't operate on any other routes. We don't encroach on any other routes in terms of encroaching on routes that, for example, that taxis may be operating on, etc. So everybody has an operating license in which they need to operate in terms of that particular operating license. So in the past, for example, the past 18 months, we have had 300 incidents of intimidation, taxi intimidation in terms of our buses.
In the past 18 months, 300 incidents of intimidation. There's a video, Franco, I don't know if you've seen it before. It is a meeting, it looks like a community meeting with the traditional leadership. The president of the ANC, the president of the country, Cyril Ramaphosa, is in that meeting, as well as the chairperson of the ANC, who's also the Mineral Resources Minister, Mkwede Mantashe. And there's an individual who's speaking in that particular meeting who says that if anything happens to PUTCO, you must know that it is us. He goes on to say that we are clear that we want 30%, which goes back to this issue around when there is business that is taking place in an area, there are some people that are demanding that they also get 30% from that particular business. Do you know anything of these demands for 30% from where you are operating? And I don't know if you've seen this video before.
Let me say, I've seen the video, but it's improper for me to speculate in terms of, given the statements that were made, what is the intention of those particular statements. But what must be said is that we cannot fall into a situation where we end up in the same situation like the construction mafia. We are ending up to develop now a transport mafia where certain demands are being made on operators to relinquish, let me say, positions, etc., instead of having their business disturbed with. Also, I need to mention that our contractual arrangements with the Department of Transport, the new contracts that have been signed by all operators in Gauteng, contain various measures to in the areas that you operate, in other words, to subcontract to people from the areas that you operate. Now, that is a situation which came in on the 30th of June, 2023. PUTCO has been doing that, in fact, for the last 10 years, even before this particular requirement came in terms of the contract. So we've been ahead of the game, ahead of all public transport operators in the whole of South Africa, and it can be checked. The fact of the matter is that the certain issues regarding the subcontracting arrangements in terms of the contract have not been adhered to by the Department of Transport. And the situation that we find ourselves in is that we become the scapegoat. In other words, we're the ham in the sandwich, because we are ready. We've submitted everything to the Department of Transport. Since our submissions to the Department of Transport of more than 12 months ago, we have had absolutely no response, and we cannot implement in terms of the contract without their approval. So they, in fact, are actually creating an environment which makes it very difficult in which for people to operate.
All right. Franco, just quickly in conclusion before I let you go, can you give us the value, the estimated value of the damages that has been caused to the PUTCO depots, including the burning of the buses?
Yes, I can. In terms of initial calculations, the amount is 250-odd million rand, because there are many factors that need to be considered in terms of new buses, the ticketing equipment, monitoring equipment, revenue, as well as the timing in which you are able to put these particular buses into your fleet, etc.
All right. Thank you so much for your time. Franco Pisapia is PUTCO's Managing Director. And MEC, just concluding remarks from your end, considering what Franco is saying here, that you don't want a situation of what you find in the construction sector with the construction mafia having a transport mafia. Your response to that?
It will be unfortunate where we move from construction mafia to bus transport or whatever we call it, mafia. Because ours is to make sure that there will be no loss, there are no lawlessness. We must make sure that indeed we have dealt with construction mafia on the side of construction. If they are gravitating towards bus construction mafia or transport mafia, then we'll enter to that space and face with them head on. But we are saying to all of us, let us work together as a nation. If there are disagreements where we ought to sit down and able to discuss and come up with an amicable solution out of those meetings. Therefore, if one finds himself in conflict with the law, we are going to isolate him or her and deal with him accordingly.
Okay, thank you so much for your time. Jackie Macie is the Mpumalanga Community Safety and Security MEC, as well as Franco Pisapia, who is PUTCO's Managing Director. And this is following the torching of around 51 buses of PUTCO in Mpumalanga, which the Transport Minister has characterized as economic sabotage.